The beeping won't stop. That's the first thing I notice when I drag my eyes open, not my children's voices, not flowers, just that damn machine counting my heartbeats like a funeral march. The recovery room stretches before me like a wasteland. Empty chair, empty chair, empty chair. 3 plastic seats lined up against the wall, just waiting for the people who should care enough to fill them. I blink hard, thinking maybe the anesthesia is playing tricks on me. Maybe Sarah's just getting coffee. Maybe the twins are stuck in traffic. But deep down, I know better. Nurse? My voice comes out like sandpaper. What time is it? A young woman in scrubs appears beside my bed, checking something on a clipboard. It's almost 4 p.m., Mrs. Henderson. Surgery went perfectly. Your heart looks great. 4 p.m. I went under at 8 this morning. 8 hours, and not a single one of my children thought to show up. Any visitors? I ask, even though I can see the answer in the barren landscape of my room. Not yet, honey, but I'm sure they'll be along soon. She's lying. I can tell by the way she won't meet my eyes. Even the nurses feel sorry for me. After she leaves, I stare at the ceiling and let the reality sink in. 30 years. 30 years of birthday parties I planned alone while David worked late. 30 years of school plays, soccer games, prom dress shopping. 30 years of putting them first. Always first. Even when it meant I came last. And this is what I get. The tears start before I can stop them. Hot and angry and pathetic. I'm crying like a child who didn't get picked for kickball. Except I'm 62 years old and lying in a hospital bed with a broken heart literally and figuratively. Pull yourself together, Margaret. You've survived worse than this. But have I? When David left 5 years ago, at least the kids called to check on me. When I lost my job last year, Sarah brought groceries. When did everything change? When did I become someone they could just forget? The door handle turns. I quickly wipe my eyes, trying to look dignified instead of pathetic. Maybe it's Sarah after all. Maybe she's here with flowers and apologies and, "Hello, Maggie." My breath catches. Standing in the doorway is the last person I expected to see. The last person I wanted to see, and somehow the only person who showed up. David. He looks older than I remember. Grayer. The laugh lines around his eyes have deepened into worry lines, and he's holding a single white rose like it's made of glass. What are you doing here? The words come out harsher than I intended, but I can't help it. This man destroyed our marriage. He walked out when I needed him most. And now he's here, in my moment of complete humiliation. I heard about the surgery. He steps closer, his shoes squeaking against the linoleum. I called the hospital this morning to check on you. The hospital told you? Number. He sets the white rose on my bedside table, next to the pitcher of water and generic get well card from my insurance company. Sarah did. My heart lurches. Sarah called you? 3 days ago. David settles into the chair closest to my bed, the chair I'd imagined her in. Or Michael. Or Jessica. She wanted to make sure someone would be here. The words hit me like a physical blow. My own daughter had to call my ex-husband because she knew none of them were coming. I don't understand. My voice breaks despite my best efforts. They hate me that much? David's eyes fill with tears. Real tears. I haven't seen him cry since his father's funeral 20 years ago. They don't hate you, Maggie. They just... He runs a hand through his thinning hair. They don't know how to forgive you. Forgive me? For what? The heart monitor beside my bed starts beeping faster. David glances at it nervously. Maybe we should talk about this later. You just had surgery. You need to rest. Number. I struggle to sit up straighter, wincing as the incision pulls. I've been resting for 5 years, David. I've been resting while my children wrote me off. I've been resting while my family fell apart. Tell me what I need to be forgiven for. He looks at me for a long moment, and I see something in his expression that makes my blood run cold. Guilt. Deep, terrible guilt. You really don't know, do you? His voice is barely above a whisper. Know what? David leans forward, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. The white rose sits between us like a peace offering for a war I didn't know we were fighting. Maggie, they know about the money. They've known for 3 years. The room spins. The beeping gets faster, more urgent. What money? But even as I ask, I know. The secret I've carried like a stone in my chest. The reason I worked those double shifts, those weekend hours, those holidays away from home. The reason I was always tired, always stressed, always putting work before family time. They're college funds, David says, and his voice breaks. They know I gambled it all away. They know you worked yourself to death to replace every penny. And they know... He stops, swallowing hard. They know what? They know you never told them it was me. The heart monitor is screaming now, but I barely hear it. Everything makes sense suddenly, the distance, the coldness, the way they look at me like I'm a stranger. They think I chose work over them. Yes. They think I was a workaholic mother who cared more about money than family. Yes. And you let them think that. David's face crumples. I was ashamed. I was so ashamed, Maggie. I destroyed everything, and you protected me, and I was too much of a coward to tell them the truth. The nurse rushes in, checking the machine, adjusting things. But I barely notice. All I can think about is my children, my babies, hating me for a sacrifice they never knew I made. Mr. Henderson, the nurse says sharply. I think you should let her rest. No, I manage to say. Don't go. David stands anyway, backing toward the door. I'll come back tomorrow, when you're stronger. David, wait. He pauses in the doorway, looking back at me with those guilty, broken eyes. Did you tell them? Did you finally tell them the truth? His silence is answer enough. And then he's gone, leaving me alone with the beeping machines and the white rose and the crushing realization that my children don't just think I failed them as a mother. They think I chose to. You're back. I don't look up when David enters the next morning. I've been staring at that white rose for hours, willing it to make sense of everything. I brought coffee. He sets a cup on my bedside table. That terrible hospital stuff isn't fit for humans. Since when do you care about my coffee preferences? David settles into the same chair as yesterday. But today, he looks different. Determined. Like he's finally ready to stop running from whatever he came here to say. I called them, Maggie. My stomach drops. The kids? All 3. For weeks. His voice is steady, but his hands are shaking. Ever since you scheduled the surgery, I begged them to come. And? He pulls out his phone, fingers trembling as he scrolls. Maybe you should see for yourself. The phone lands in my lap, screen up. Text messages. Dozens of them. David, your mother is having heart surgery Tuesday. She needs you there. She made her choices. We made ours. She's your mother, Sarah. Whatever you think she did. Sarah. What I think she did? Dad, I lived it. We all did. She chose her precious career over us every single time. I scroll down, my vision blurring. Michael. Mom's surgery? Since when do you care about Mom? David. I know I screwed up. But this isn't about me. This is about her being alone. Michael. She was alone when she missed my graduation for a business trip. She was alone when she chose overtime over my soccer championship. Maybe she likes being alone. My hands are shaking worse than David's now. Jessica. Don't guilt trip us, Dad. We're done pretending we're a happy family. David. Jessica. Please. She needs. Jessica. She needed to be a mother when we were kids. Too late now. Stop. I shove the phone back at him. I can't read anymore. There's worse. I don't want to see it. You need to. David's voice is firm. They think you were emotionally unavailable their whole childhood. They think you cared more about work than them. Sarah said you chose your career over them and they're done pretending to care. Each word hits like a slap. Emotionally unavailable? Those were Jessica's exact words. And you let them believe that. David runs his hands through his hair. I was ashamed. I am ashamed. Ashamed enough to let your children hate their mother for your mistakes? Yes. The word explodes out of him. Yes. Okay? I was that selfish. I was that much of a coward. Are you happy now? The heart monitor starts its angry beeping again. David glances at it, then at me. But I couldn't let you go through surgery alone. I couldn't let you wake up to nothing. So you came out of guilt. I came out of love. The words hang in the air between us. Love. After everything he put me through, everything he destroyed, he has the audacity to talk about love. You have a funny way of showing it. I know. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out something small and white. That's why I need to show you this. It's an insurance card. My insurance card. I don't understand. David slides it across the hospital bed, the plastic making a soft whisper against the blankets. I've been paying for it. Your health insurance. Since the divorce. I stare at the card like it's written in a foreign language. What? Every month for 5 years. Premium payments, co-pays, everything. Why? Because I knew the kids wouldn't help. I knew you were struggling financially because of what I did. And I knew. His voice breaks. I knew if something happened to you, it would be my fault twice over. The room is spinning again. You've been paying my medical bills? All of them. The cardiologist visits? The stress tests? Everything, Maggie. Everything. I can't breathe. This surgery, the one I've been worried sick about affording, the one that kept me awake at night calculating costs, he's been covering it all along. The kids don't know. Number. You let them think I was financially irresponsible too. I let them think whatever kept them from knowing what a complete failure their father was. The anger that's been building in my chest for 24 hours finally explodes. You selfish bastard. Maggie. No. I struggle to sit up, ignoring the pain. You destroyed their college funds. You forced me to work myself to death rebuilding them. You let me take all the blame for being an absent mother when I was trying to fix your mistakes. And then you had the nerve to let them hate me for it? I know. Do you? Do you really know what you did to us? David's face is wet with tears now. I destroyed everything. I know that. You destroyed them trusting me. You destroyed my relationship with my children. You destroyed 30 years of motherhood. I know. And then you divorced me and let me deal with the fallout alone. I know! So why? Why pay for my insurance? Why show up here? Why pretend to care now? David looks up at me, and for a moment I see the man I fell in love with 40 years ago. Broken, but real. Because I never stopped loving you. Even when I was too broken to show it. Even when I was destroying everything good in my life. I never stopped. The confession hangs between us like a live wire. That's not fair. I know it's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. But I couldn't let you face this alone. Not when it's my fault you are alone. My phone buzzes on the bedside table. David and I both look at it, then at each other. Probably another insurance robocall, I mutter. But when I pick it up, I see Sarah's name on the screen. David leans forward, reading over my shoulder. Sarah, Dad called again. He's really worried about you. Are you okay? David's face goes completely white. I stare at the message, then at him. What aren't you telling me? His mouth opens and closes like a fish. David, what else did you say to them? Nothing. I swear, My phone buzzes again. Sarah. Actually, don't answer that. I'm coming to see you. We need to talk. About everything. David looks like he's about to be sick. What did you do? I whisper. I may have mentioned some things. What things? Another buzz. Sarah. Dad finally told us the truth about the college money. We need to talk. Now. The heart monitor starts screaming as I look at David's terrified face and realize everything I thought I knew about this situation is about to change again. The door explodes open before I can process what's happening. Don't you dare try to explain this away. Sarah storms in like a hurricane, mascara streaked down her cheeks, her finger pointed directly at my chest. Behind her, I catch a glimpse of nurses scurrying away from the doorway. Sarah. No! She whirls toward David, who's practically shrinking into his chair. And you. Sitting there like some kind of hero. Like you finally did the right thing. Honey, please calm down. I try to sit up straighter, but the pain shoots through my chest. Calm down? Sarah's laugh is bitter and sharp. I've been sitting in that parking lot for an hour, Mom. An hour! Trying to decide if I should come up here or just drive home and pretend this conversation never happened. You've been here for an hour? Since 7 a.m. She's pacing now, her heels clicking against the linoleum. I couldn't sleep after Dad's little confession last night. The college money, the insurance, all of it. So I drove here and sat in my car, crying like a teenager. David shifts uncomfortably. Sarah, I didn't mean for... Shut up, Dad. Just shut up. She turns back to me, and the fury in her eyes takes my breath away. Do you know what the worst part is, Mom? Tell me. The worst part is that I wanted to hate you. It was so much easier to hate you. The words hit me like a physical blow. Sarah. Do you remember my high school graduation? My heart sinks. Of course she'd bring up graduation. The one night I've regretted for 20 years. Of course I remember. Do you remember why you missed it? There was an emergency at work. The Peterson account. Stop. Sarah holds up her hand. Just stop lying to me. To yourself. To everyone. I'm not lying. There was a crisis. And I had to... You had to save Dad's ass. Again. The room goes dead silent. Even the heart monitor seems to pause. David's face is white as paper. Sarah, how did you... How did I know? She laughs, but there's no humor in it. Because I followed you that night, Dad. I was 17 and furious that Mom chose work over my graduation, so I decided to drive to her office and confront her myself. My chest tightens. You came to my office? I never made it inside. But I saw you, Dad. I saw you stumbling out of Murphy's bar at 11 p.m. with some blonde woman who definitely wasn't Mom. David makes a sound like he's choking. And then I saw Mom's car in the parking lot. Still there at midnight. Still there when I drove by at 2 a.m. She wasn't at some business meeting, was she, Dad? I close my eyes, remembering that night. The longest night of my life. She was cleaning up your mess. Again, wasn't she? Sarah, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. She whirls on David. You were having an affair, and somehow that became Mom's emergency to fix. Just like everything else you screwed up became her problem to solve. It wasn't like that, I whisper. Then what was it like, Mom? Sarah's voice breaks. Because I spent 20 years thinking you chose work over me. I spent 20 years thinking your job was more important than watching your only daughter graduate. It wasn't. Then why? Why did you miss the most important night of my life to cover for him? I look at David, then back at Sarah. How do I explain the impossible choice I made that night? How do I tell her about the phone call from his boss, threatening to fire him if the missing money wasn't replaced by morning? How do I explain that I chose to save her father's job instead of watching her walk across a stage? Because I thought if I lost my job, you'd lose your college fund too. But we lost it anyway, didn't we? He gambled it all away. Not all of it. Not then. Sarah stares at me. What do you mean, not then? David clears his throat. Sarah, maybe we should. What do you mean, not then, Mom? I take a shaky breath. Your father had been borrowing from the college accounts for months, small amounts at first. I didn't know until the night of your graduation, when his boss called and said there was a discrepancy in the company books. A discrepancy? $50,000 missing. Either David replaced it by morning, or they'd have him arrested for embezzlement. Sarah's hand flies to her mouth. Oh my God. I spent that night liquidating everything we had. Retirement accounts, savings bonds, everything. Just to keep your father out of prison. But the affair was his way of dealing with the guilt, I guess. I didn't find out about that part until later. Sarah sinks into the empty chair beside David's. So you knew. You knew he was destroying our family financially, and you covered for him. I was trying to protect you, kids. By lying to us? By keeping your father out of jail. But Mom, Sarah's voice is small now, like the little girl she used to be. We could have handled it. We could have gotten scholarships, worked our way through college. You didn't have to sacrifice everything. Yes, I did. Because I knew what it would do to you kids if your father went to prison. I knew what it would do to this family. So instead, you let us think you were a terrible mother. The words hang in the air like an accusation. David hasn't moved, hasn't spoken. He just sits there, looking ashamed and broken. I thought it was better than the truth. What truth? That Dad was a gambling addict and a cheater? That I failed to protect you from him. Sarah stares at me for a long moment. Then she reaches into her purse and pulls out an envelope, old and yellowed, with my handwriting on the front. Then why did I find this in Dad's things when I helped him move last year? My blood turns to ice. The letter I wrote but never sent. Sarah, where did you get that? It was in a box in his closet, along with all the other letters you wrote but never gave us. Other letters? Sarah's hands shake as she unfolds the paper. Should I read it, Mom? Should I read what you really thought about protecting us? I want to tell her no. I want to grab that letter and tear it into pieces. But David is staring at me with a look of complete confusion, and I realize he has no idea what that letter says. None of them do. Sarah, please. But she's already reading, her voice getting stronger with each word. Dear Sarah, Michael and Jessica, by the time you read this, I'll probably be dead, and you'll finally know the truth about why I worked so much. Why I missed so many dinners, so many games, so many moments that mattered to you. David's face goes white. It wasn't because I loved my job more than I loved you. It was because I loved you more than I loved myself. Sarah's voice wavers as she continues reading. The truth is, your father didn't just gamble away your college funds once. He did it 3 times. 3 separate times. I had to rebuild everything from nothing. David's hands fly to his face. Sarah, stop. Please. No, Dad. You wanted the truth? Here's the truth. The letter trembles in Sarah's grip, but she keeps reading. The first time was when Sarah was 16. I took a second job at night to replace the money before any of you found out. I remember those months. Coming home at 2 a.m., leaving again at 6. The kids asking why I was always tired, always stressed. The second time was during the twins' junior year. I sold my mother's wedding ring, took out loans against the house, worked every weekend for 8 months straight. Mom. Sarah's voice is barely a whisper. But the third time was the worst. 3 weeks before Sarah's graduation, David emptied everything. Not just college funds, our retirement, our savings, our emergency fund. Everything we'd built in 20 years of marriage, gone in one night at the casino. The heart monitor is beeping frantically now, but I can barely hear it over the sound of David sobbing. That's when I realized I had 2 choices. Let you kids know your father was a gambling addict who'd stolen your futures, or work myself to death to give them back to you. Sarah looks up at me, tears streaming down her face. So you chose to work. I chose to save your dreams, even if it cost me everything. The letter shakes in Sarah's hands as she continues. I took on 3 clients that required constant travel. I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. I missed dinners because I was on conference calls with Tokyo. I missed soccer games because I was flying to emergency meetings. I missed graduation because I was negotiating the biggest contract of my career, the one that would finally restore every penny your father had stolen. The Peterson account, David whispers. The Peterson account that saved all of your college educations and nearly killed me in the process. Sarah sets the letter down on the bed, her hands shaking. Mom, you could have told us. And what? Make you hate your father? Make you lose respect for him? Make you question whether he loved you? But we questioned whether you loved us instead. The words hit like a slap. Because she's right. In protecting David, I sacrificed my relationship with my children. I thought it was worth it. I thought if you could go to your dream schools, have the futures you'd planned, it wouldn't matter if you thought I was a workaholic mother. It mattered to us, Mom. We needed you. You needed college more. You needed stability. You needed to not know that your father was a complete failure. David's voice is muffled by his hands. A pathetic, weak man who destroyed everything good in his life. Sarah looks at him, and for the first time since she stormed in, her expression softens slightly. Dad. She's right, Sarah. Everything she said in that letter, it's all true. I gambled away your futures 3 separate times. 3 times, I watched your mother work herself to death cleaning up my mess. And 3 times, I was too much of a coward to tell you kids the truth. He drops his hands, and his face is ravaged with guilt and shame. The affair wasn't about love. It wasn't even about attraction. It was about finding someone who didn't know what a failure I was. Someone who didn't look at me and see all the ways I'd let my family down. So you let Mom take all the blame. I let your mother be the hero she always was, even when it meant you kids would think she was the villain. Sarah picks up the letter again, scanning to the end. There's more, Mom. You wrote more. Sarah, you don't need to. Yes, I do. She clears her throat. By the time you read this, you'll probably be angry. Angry that I lied, angry that I chose work over family time, angry that I wasn't the mother you deserved. The room is so quiet I can hear David's ragged breathing. But I need you to know that every missed dinner, every canceled vacation, every time I chose work over being with you, it wasn't because my job mattered more than you. It was because you mattered more than anything, including my own happiness. Sarah's voice breaks on the last words. I would rather have you hate me and succeed than love me and struggle. I would rather work myself to death than watch you give up your dreams because of your father's mistakes. I would rather be remembered as the mother who wasn't there than have you remember your father as the man who stole your future. The letter flutters to the floor as Sarah covers her face with her hands. Mom, we never knew. We never knew any of this. I didn't want you to know. But we should have known. We should have been there for you instead of blaming you. I reach for her hand, and she doesn't pull away. You were kids. It wasn't your job to save the family. It wasn't yours either. Yes, it was. I was the mother. I was the adult. It was my job to protect you, even from the truth. David stands up suddenly, pacing to the window. I can't listen to this anymore. I can't sit here and let you make me sound like the victim when you were the one. When I was the one what? I snap. When I was the one keeping this family together. When I was the one making sure my children could have the futures they deserved. When you were the one destroying your health and your relationships to cover for my failures. That was my choice. It was the wrong choice. Sarah looks back and forth between us. Stop it. Both of you, just stop. We both fall silent. Mom, why didn't you tell us after we graduated? After we were adults? Why did you let us spend years thinking you didn't care about us? Before I can answer, the door bursts open again. What the hell is going on here? Michael stands in the doorway. Jessica, right behind him. Both of them look furious. Sarah, you said you were going to get coffee, Jessica says, her voice sharp. Not stage some kind of intervention. This isn't an intervention. Then why is Dad here? Why are you crying, and why? Michael's eyes land on the letter on the floor. What is that? Sarah and I exchange glances. David slowly turns from the window. It's a letter, Sarah says carefully. What kind of letter? Jessica pushes past Michael into the room. And don't lie to us. We drove 3 hours to get here after Dad's little phone calls last night. We deserve to know what's really going on. Michael crosses his arms. Yeah, because we didn't come here to forgive and forget, if that's what you think. We came here to finally tell Mom exactly how we feel about her choosing work over family for 30 years. My heart monitor starts racing again as I realize this reunion is about to get much, much worse. You broke ranks, Sarah. Jessica's voice is ice cold. We agreed. No contact until she apologized. Apologized for what? Sarah stands up, squaring her shoulders. For working herself to death to pay for our college educations? Michael scoffs. Oh, please. Don't tell me she's got you buying into some sob story about Dad gambling away our college funds? 3 separate times? Sarah picks up the letter from the floor. It's not a sob story, Michael. It's the truth. Jessica goes very still. What are you talking about? Dad, tell them. Sarah's voice is sharp. Tell them what you told me last night. David looks like he wants to disappear into the hospital walls. Maybe we should all calm down first. No! Michael slams his hand against the doorframe. I'm tired of calm. I'm tired of pretending. Mom, you want to know why we're here? We came to tell you that we're done. Done pretending we're a family. Done pretending your career didn't matter more than us. Michael, I start. We came to tell you that missing my soccer championship hurt. Missing Jessica's piano recital hurt. Missing dinners and birthdays and every important moment of our lives hurt. Tears are streaming down his face now, and my heart is breaking. We came to tell you that we needed our mother, and you chose money instead. She chose you instead. Everyone turns to look at David. He's standing by the window, his back straight for the first time in 2 days. Your mother didn't choose work over you. She chose you over everything else in her life, including her own happiness. What are you talking about? Jessica demands. David walks over and picks up the letter from Sarah's hands. Your mother wrote this before her surgery. A letter she never planned to send because she was still protecting me. Still covering for my failures. Dad? No, Sarah. Let me. His voice is steady now. Jessica, Michael, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. He looks at both twins, then at me. I'm a gambling addict. I have been for 20 years. And 3 times during your childhood, I gambled away your entire college funds. Jessica's face goes white. What? Every penny your mother saved for your education, I lost at the casino. And every time, she worked double shifts, took on extra clients, sacrificed sleep and health and time with you kids to replace every dollar I stole. Michael shakes his head. That can't be true. The night I missed your graduation, Sarah, I wasn't at a business meeting. I was liquidating our retirement accounts to cover $50,000 I'd stolen from my company to feed my gambling addiction. Oh my God, Jessica whispers. The weekend I missed your championship, Michael. Your mother was working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, because I'd gambled away your college fund 2 weeks earlier. Michael sinks into the remaining chair. No, that's not. Mom would have told us. She protected me. She protected all of us. She let you think she was a workaholic mother who cared more about money than family because the truth was worse. What truth? Jessica's voice is barely audible. That your father was a lying, stealing, gambling addict who destroyed everything good in his life. David's voice breaks, including his relationship with his children. The room falls silent except for the sound of the heart monitor and Jessica's quiet crying. Mom? Michael looks at me, and suddenly he's 10 years old again. Is this true? I nod, not trusting my voice. All those times you were gone, you were working to pay for college? And to keep food on the table, and to keep the house, and to make sure you never knew how bad things really were. Jessica sits down hard on the edge of my bed. We hated you! I know. We thought you didn't love us. I know that too. But you loved us so much you nearly killed yourself working. I would do it again. Michael starts crying then. Really crying. And suddenly he's standing next to my bed, reaching for my hand. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We should have known. We should have asked. You were kids. It wasn't your job to know. But we're not kids anymore, Sarah says. We're adults who spent years punishing you for loving us too much. Jessica takes my other hand. Can you forgive us? For not trusting you? For assuming the worst? There's nothing to forgive. I made my choices. Wrong choices, David says quietly. I should never have let you carry that burden alone. But I wasn't alone. I look around at my children, all three of them gathered around my bed now. I had you three. Even when you hated me, I had the knowledge that you were safe, educated, and successful. That was enough. It shouldn't have been enough, Sarah says. You deserved better from all of us. David steps closer to the bed. Maggie, I know I can't undo 20 years of damage. I know sorry isn't enough. But I need you to know that letting you take the blame for my failures is the thing I regret most in my life. Even more than the gambling? The gambling destroyed our marriage. But letting the kids hate you destroyed something more important than that. I look at him, really look at him, and see the man who used to read bedtime stories to our children. Broken, but finally honest. So what happens now? Jessica asks. How do we fix this? We start over, Sarah says firmly. We start telling the truth. All of us. Michael squeezes my hand. Can we do that, Mom? Can we start over? I look around at my family, broken, complicated, but finally honest, and feel something I haven't felt in years. Hope. I'd like that very much. Sarah reaches for David's hand, then Jessica's. All of us. Together. And suddenly, we're all holding hands around my hospital bed. A circle of 5 people who've hurt each other and forgiven each other, and somehow found their way back to love. The heart monitor shows a steady, peaceful rhythm for the first time in 3 days. 6 months later. Mom, you made it! Sarah rushes toward me across the crowded restaurant, her engagement ring catching the light. I'm surrounded immediately by my children and their families. Michael's wife bringing me a chair, Jessica's kids showing me their drawings, Sarah's fiancé making sure I'm comfortable. Grandma Maggie! Jessica's youngest climbs into my lap. Mommy says you're the strongest person she knows. I catch Jessica's eye across the table, and she smiles through her tears. The party is loud and chaotic and perfect. David even stops by with his new wife, a kind woman who treats me like family instead of the ex-wife. Because we've all learned that love doesn't have to be perfect to be real. Sometimes the families that fall apart are the ones that learn to hold each other tightest. And sometimes that's enough.